Ever wondered if a man is genuinely head over heels for you or just playing it cool? The truth is, when a guy is really into you, he doesn't always say it, but his actions scream it. Here are 6 sneaky psychological tricks men often use when they're falling hard. When a man is truly falling for you, one of the first subconscious behaviors he exhibits is something psychologists refer to as mirroring. This is when he begins to subtly, and often unconsciously, imitate your body language, tone of voice, speaking pace, facial expressions, or even your energy. It's not about copying you in a forced or exaggerated way. It's a natural psychological response that indicates connection, empathy, and emotional resonance. Imagine you're sitting across from him at a cafe, and you lean forward slightly while talking. A few moments later, he does the same. You cross your legs, and he shifts his posture soon after. You smile, and he smiles back, not just because he's polite, but because he's emotionally in tune with your experience. This kind of behavioral syncing is deeply rooted in our evolutionary psychology. It's the brain's way of saying, "I'm with you. I feel what you feel." It builds rapport and fosters a sense of intimacy, even before any serious conversations have taken place. Men who are genuinely drawn to you might not even be aware they're doing this. It's not a conscious decision, it's a reflection of their emotional investment. Our brains are wired to mirror people we like, admire, or want to feel closer to. It's why mirroring is often seen in tight-knit friendships, couples in love, and people who are in deep emotional sync. When a man begins to mirror you, it's his subconscious aligning with yours. His body is speaking the same language as yours, even if no words are exchanged. This psychological trick isn't just about matching gestures, it extends to tone and energy as well. If you're speaking softly, he might lower his voice to match. If you're energetic and animated, he might subconsciously pick up that vibe and reflect it back. It's about harmony. People in sync tend to trust each other more, feel safer around each other, and open up more quickly. So when a man starts to reflect your mannerisms, it's his brain's way of building trust and rapport without needing to force it. There's also a fascinating layer to mirroring that goes deeper than just the visual. It taps into the realm of empathy. When someone mirrors you, they're also more likely to feel what you're feeling. This is linked to mirror neurons in the brain, cells that fire not just when we do something ourselves, but when we observe someone else doing it. So when you smile, and he smiles back with genuine warmth, it's because those neurons are reacting to your emotional state, creating a shared experience between the two of you. It's how emotional bonds are formed quickly, and sometimes without either person fully understanding why. Men who are emotionally invested might also begin to mirror your values and interests. Maybe he starts listening to a band you casually mentioned liking. Maybe he picks up on certain phrases you use and begins to sprinkle them into his own vocabulary. These shifts, although subtle, are psychological signs that he's aligning with you, not to manipulate, but to feel closer and more connected. It's his way of saying, "I want to be in your world." Mirroring, when it happens naturally, is incredibly powerful. It's not something to look for in a calculating way, but it's something to notice when you're trying to understand where a man's heart truly lies. If his body starts to reflect yours, if his speech starts to echo your rhythms, and if he seems to move with you in unspoken harmony, it's not just coincidence. It's his subconscious revealing what his words might not have caught up to yet. He's into you more than he probably realizes himself. When a man is genuinely into you, he will start creating small, shared moments that feel like they belong only to the two of you. One of the most subtle and psychologically telling ways he does this is through inside jokes. On the surface, it might seem like harmless teasing or playful comments, but underneath, it's much more than that. Inside jokes act as emotional anchors. They create a private space within the relationship, a mini world where only the two of you exist. This isn't accidental, it's a deliberate form of emotional bonding, even if he doesn't fully realize he's doing it. Let's say the two of you have a funny moment at a restaurant involving a waiter's awkward comment or a shared reaction to a bizarre menu item. Days or even weeks later, he references it again with a smirk, maybe using a specific word or phrase that only you would understand. That's an inside joke in action. It's not just about humor, it's about memory. It's about building continuity and reinforcing the emotional thread that connects you. It turns isolated moments into shared history, and shared history is the foundation of intimacy. What makes this kind of behavior powerful is its exclusivity. When he creates inside jokes with you, he's not just trying to make you laugh. He's trying to build something that's yours and his alone. That kind of emotional territory is sacred in the early stages of attraction. It subtly communicates, I see you, I remember you, I want this connection to be ours. Inside jokes become your private language, a way to communicate closeness, even in a crowded room. If you've ever had a moment where you lock eyes and burst out laughing over something no one else would understand, you've experienced exactly how strong that connection can be. Another layer to this behavior is repetition. If a man keeps bringing up funny or sweet moments you've shared, it's not just because they were amusing. It's because he wants to relive them with you. Psychologically, revisiting a shared laugh or a quirky memory reinforces emotional connection. Every time he repeats that little joke or nickname, he's strengthening the bond in a non-threatening, low-pressure way. He's giving you both a reason to smile, but more importantly, he's subconsciously reinforcing the idea that your connection is unique. Sometimes, these inside jokes are even used to test the emotional waters. For instance, he might tease you lightly or recall something playful to see how you react. Does it make you light up? Do you play along? When a man is into you, he watches how you respond to these little you and me moments because it tells him how emotionally safe and connected the relationship is becoming. He may not say it outright, but he's watching for signs of warmth, comfort, and receptivity. These jokes then become tools of emotional calibration, helping him assess and deepen the bond between you. Even the smallest recurring phrases or funny impressions can take on new meaning when he likes you. That silly voice he uses when talking about a shared memory, or the exaggerated eye roll he gives when referencing a situation you both experienced. It's all part of the private language he's building with you. This kind of communication is emotionally intelligent and deeply bonding, especially when it happens organically. You might not notice it at first, but over time, these small in-jokes start to create a sense of familiarity, of belonging, of us. This behavior also reveals something important about how men connect emotionally. While many people assume that men fall through grand gestures, it's often these small, consistent moments of shared humor and emotional intimacy that mean the most. A man who's crazy about you doesn't just want to be the reason you laugh. He wants to be the only one who understands why you're laughing. That level of emotional exclusivity built through light-hearted moments is his subtle way of saying he's invested, he's present, and he wants more than just surface-level connection. When a man is deeply interested in you, he may start to subtly test your reactions in ways that aren't always obvious at first. These small, psychological tests are his way of gauging your emotional availability, your sense of humor, your boundaries, and whether or not you're the kind of person he can truly open up to. They aren't manipulative in nature. In fact, many men aren't consciously aware they're doing it. But on a deeper level, they serve a critical function, helping him feel safe enough to let down his guard. These tests often show up in playful teasing. He might lightly poke fun at something you said, give you a silly nickname, or playfully challenge your opinions just to see how you respond. This isn't about putting you down or creating conflict. It's a way for him to understand your emotional tone. Can you laugh at yourself? Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you play along, or do you become defensive? Your reaction to these low-stakes scenarios gives him insight into how emotionally safe and light-hearted things can feel with you. It's his subtle way of checking if the connection between you can include humor, banter, and resilience. At times, these tests can take a slightly more vulnerable turn. He might share a small detail about his past, a quirky habit, a fear, something that embarrassed him, and watch closely to see how you respond. Will you judge him? Will you brush it off? Or will you respond with curiosity, warmth, or your own story in return? He may not frame it as a test, and he might not even recognize it as such, but it is. Vulnerability, especially for men who are used to holding back emotionally, doesn't come freely. So when he drops little hints of personal truth, he's watching to see if you catch them, honor them, and maybe even reciprocate. Sometimes these tests are disguised as offhand remarks or hypothetical questions. He might say something like, "I bet you're the type who never calls first," or "You probably break hearts for fun," with a smile. On the surface, it's a joke, but underneath, he's asking something else entirely. Are you emotionally safe? Are you invested? Can I trust you with my softer side? He might even throw out a provocative comment to see if you'll challenge him, agree with him, or flirt back. The way you respond to these seemingly throwaway lines tells him more than you might realize. He's not just listening to your words. He's paying attention to your tone, your timing, and your emotional cues. Even silence or hesitation can be a form of a test. If you pull back emotionally, become quiet, or seem distant, he may intentionally mirror that behavior to see what happens. Not because he wants to play games, but because he's unsure how emotionally invested you are, and he doesn't want to overextend himself. He's watching whether you'll close the gap, check in, or show him you noticed. These moments, though subtle, are a window into his emotional caution. He's feeling his way forward, checking whether this is a space where he can be more of himself. For emotionally intelligent men, testing your reactions can also be a sign of respect. He's not pushing boundaries to manipulate. He's gently pressing on the walls to see if this connection is strong enough to hold deeper emotional weight. He might challenge you on your views or play devil's advocate, not to win an argument, but to understand how you think, how you express yourself, and how safe it feels to be fully real around you. When he sees that you're consistent, compassionate, and authentic in your responses, he begins to trust you more, sometimes without realizing that's what's happening. And in that trust, attraction deepens. When a man is genuinely falling for you, something in his pace begins to shift, especially when he's around you. In a world where everyone is rushing, multitasking, and glued to their phones, one of the most revealing signs of emotional investment is when he starts to slow down in your presence. It's not just about spending time with you, it's about the quality of that time. He's no longer in a rush to get to the next thing or distracted by everything else. His attention narrows, his presence deepens, and you become the center of his focus in a way that feels rare and unmistakably real. This slowing down can show up in small, almost imperceptible ways. Maybe he lingers at the end of a conversation when most people would have already said goodbye. Maybe he walks a little more slowly when you're side by side, matching your rhythm instead of sticking to his own. He doesn't look at his phone as often. He's not scanning the room while talking to you. His energy becomes less about doing and more about being with you. That shift in presence is subtle but powerful. It's the kind of attention that says, right now, nothing else is more important. What's happening psychologically is that he's beginning to feel safe and emotionally engaged in a way that draws him out of the usual doing mode. When a man is around someone he truly likes, he often shifts out of his default mindset and into something more reflective and emotionally aware. It's not necessarily something he plans. It's a natural consequence of feeling genuinely connected. Time seems to expand a little. Conversations feel more meaningful. Eye contact lasts a beat longer. There's a softness in his demeanor that wasn't there before. This change isn't about laziness or passivity. It's about depth. Men are often conditioned to stay in motion, to stay productive, and to keep their emotional lives compartmentalized. But when someone comes along who pulls them into the moment, who makes them want to be fully present, it's as if they finally have permission to just feel. Slowing down becomes his way of savoring the connection, even if he doesn't have the words to describe it. It's less about making a move and more about being moved by something real. In conversations, this might mean he listens more than he speaks. He doesn't interrupt. He gives thoughtful responses instead of rushing to fill the silence. He asks questions not just to keep the conversation going, but because he genuinely wants to know how you think and feel. He's not just talking to you, he's talking with you. The difference is subtle but incredibly telling. He starts showing signs of emotional attunement, a quiet kind of intimacy that builds trust and connection without needing to be flashy. Slowing down also shows up in the way he makes plans. He might suggest spending time together without rushing through activities, a walk in the park instead of a loud night out, cooking dinner together instead of grabbing takeout. Experiences that create space for deeper connection rather than quick entertainment. He's not trying to impress you with extravagance. He's trying to create space for something real to unfold. And that space often speaks louder than words. Even in digital communication, you might notice a difference. His messages become more thoughtful. He remembers things you said and brings them up later. He's not just texting to keep your attention. He's genuinely invested in the interaction. When a man is crazy about you, he starts treating time with you as something valuable. And one of the most instinctive ways he honors that value is by slowing down. It's not just a sign of interest. It's a sign of emotional depth. When a man is truly into you, one of the more revealing psychological signs is that he begins to speak in terms of the future, and not just his own. Instead of keeping things light and momentary, he starts planting subtle seeds that involve you in what's ahead. These comments may not always sound serious at first. They can come off as jokes or casual what-ifs, but the underlying motive is clear. He's imagining you in his long-term picture. That shift from me to we, even if it's not overtly stated, is one of the most intimate mental moves a man can make when he's falling for someone. These future-oriented remarks can take many forms. He might say something like, "You'd love this music festival. Maybe we should go next year." Or, "If I ever buy a house, I definitely need a kitchen big enough for both of us to cook." On the surface, it might sound hypothetical, playful, or even far off, but there's a reason he's saying it to you. He's not just making conversation, he's testing out the feeling of you being part of his future. It's a gentle way to see how you respond without making it a high-pressure moment. This behavior is rooted in psychological attachment. When a man begins to feel emotionally bonded, his thoughts naturally start extending beyond the present. He's no longer thinking in terms of short-term rewards or casual dating. His brain begins to envision how life could look with you in it. It's a soft kind of mental rehearsal, and by including you in his future plans, even in passing, he's not just showing interest, he's expressing desire for permanence and continuity. It's not always in grand declarations either. Sometimes it shows up in smaller, more personal ways. He might say, "When my sister comes to visit, "I'd love for you to meet her," or "You'd get along so well with my friends on game night." These moments are significant because they reflect emotional inclusion. He's not just dating you in isolation, he's starting to consider how you would fit into the broader tapestry of his life. That's a vulnerable step, even when it's wrapped in casual words. He's allowing himself to imagine the overlap between his world and yours. You might also notice changes in the way he makes decisions. Maybe he checks in with you before committing to a future event. Maybe he starts using "we" more often than "I" when talking about upcoming weekends or plans. He may even begin to take your preferences into account when he talks about things like moving cities, career choices, or lifestyle goals. These aren't just signs of courtesy, they're signs of mental integration. His decisions are no longer being made in a vacuum. They're being made with the possibility of you in mind. Sometimes he might bring up the future just to observe your reaction. It's a way to test your emotional openness and see if you share his sense of possibility. If you respond with warmth, curiosity, or playful engagement, it tells him you're at least open to the idea. If you pull back or deflect, he may read that as a sign to slow down or protect his own feelings. Either way, future talk becomes a psychological probe, not manipulative but revealing. It's how he navigates emotional risk without fully exposing himself too soon. There's also something comforting in these forward-looking conversations. When a man includes you in his vision of what's ahead, it means he sees emotional safety in you. It means he's letting himself be hopeful, even if quietly. These small glimpses into what life might look like together create a sense of stability and intention. Even if the words themselves are wrapped in humor or spontaneity. When a man is truly crazy about you, one of the clearest signs isn't found in how much he tries to impress you, but in how much he starts prioritizing your emotional experience. This goes beyond surface-level compliments or planned gestures. It's about how deeply tuned in he is to how you feel in his presence. It's a shift from trying to get your attention to genuinely caring about how you feel around him. That distinction is subtle, but it speaks volumes about where his heart is and how emotionally invested he's becoming. You'll notice it in the way he listens. Not just hears you, but really listens. He pays attention to the words you use, the tone in your voice, and the emotions behind what you're saying. If something seems off, he'll gently ask if you're okay, not because he feels obligated to, but because your emotional state matters to him. He wants to understand you, not just on the surface, but beneath it. When you're excited, he matches your energy and celebrates with you. When you're down, he doesn't try to fix everything or change the subject. He simply stays present. That emotional responsiveness is not about saying the right thing. It's about being the right presence. He also starts making small choices that reflect an awareness of your feelings. Maybe he changes plans because he knows you're tired, or brings up a topic he remembers you cared about weeks ago. These aren't grand, performative gestures. They're the quiet, everyday ways he shows he's thinking of you, not as someone to impress, but as someone whose emotional well-being matters. It's the difference between someone who wants to win you over and someone who wants to show up for you. That's a major psychological shift, and one that often only happens when deep emotional attachment is forming. This prioritization can even come through in the way he handles conflict or tension. If you're upset, and instead of becoming defensive or dismissive, he takes a moment to understand your perspective, that's a powerful signal. It shows he's not just interested in avoiding discomfort. He's interested in making sure you feel understood and supported. Even if he doesn't agree, he'll look for common ground because your emotional safety is more important to him than being right. He's not arguing to win, he's trying to protect the connection. You may also notice a change in how he reacts to your feedback. A man who's truly emotionally invested will not only hear your concerns but take them seriously. If something bothers you, he doesn't brush it off or minimize it. He adjusts, he learns. That adaptability isn't weakness, it's care in action. He wants you to feel secure with him, to know that he respects your feelings and values your comfort. It's not about walking on eggshells, it's about showing emotional maturity and a willingness to grow for the sake of the relationship. Even in public or social settings, you might catch him checking in with you subtly. A glance to see if you're enjoying yourself, a light touch on your back as reassurance, a whispered "you okay?" If things feel overwhelming, he's aware of your emotional environment and attuned to how you move through it. He doesn't want you to just be with him. He wants you to feel good being with him. That emotional attentiveness is one of the most telling signs of real affection, because it shows he's not just trying to capture your heart. He's trying to protect it in small but meaningful ways. This emotional attunement isn't forced. It's not about him being perfect or always saying the exact right thing. It's about the energy he brings into the connection. His emotional focus shifts from self to shared space. He starts thinking in terms of how things affect you, not just himself. He puts effort into making sure that when you're around him, you feel safe, valued, relaxed, and seen, not as a tactic, but as a natural extension of how deeply he feels about you. When a man is truly crazy about you, his behavior shifts in ways that are often subtle, but incredibly telling. He may not always express his feelings in grand cinematic declarations, but if you know what to look for, the signs are impossible to miss. The psychological patterns we've explored, mirroring your body language and tone, creating inside jokes that build a private world between you, lightly testing your emotional responses, slowing down to be present with you, making casual references to a shared future, and prioritizing your emotional experience aren't random. They are deeply rooted in how human beings, especially men, build emotional attachment and intimacy. These behaviors are not strategies or tricks in the manipulative sense. They are subconscious ways a man begins to align with someone he genuinely wants to connect with. A man who is infatuated in the most meaningful way isn't just trying to win your affection. He's trying to create a relationship that feels emotionally safe, exciting, and real. That starts with emotional investment. An emotional investment always reveals itself in action more than words. When a man mirrors you, he's subconsciously telling you he wants to be in sync. When he builds inside jokes, he's saying he wants to share a private emotional space with you. When he gently tests your reactions, it's because he's opening himself up and needs to feel secure in doing so. When he slows down in your presence, it's because your presence feels like something to savor, not rush through. When he talks about the future and includes you in it, it's because the idea of life without you in it feels incomplete. And when he begins prioritizing how you feel, how you actually feel when you're with him, that's when you know his heart is no longer just his own. It's starting to wrap around yours. The key to recognizing these signs is not to overanalyze every move, but to stay grounded in your own emotional experience. How do you feel when you're with him? Do his actions match his words? Do you feel safe, seen, understood, and valued, not just entertained or admired? The strongest indicator of a man's deep affection isn't how much he tries to impress you. It's how much he consistently shows up for you emotionally, even in the smallest ways. Understanding these psychological behaviors empowers you to see love more clearly. It lets you separate charm from sincerity, attraction from attachment, and games from genuine emotional investment. Love doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it's in the way he remembers a random detail you mentioned once, or how he adjusts his schedule just to spend more time with you, or how he instinctively reaches for your hand when you're walking through a crowd. So pay attention to the quiet moments. That's where the truth often hides, because the way a man acts when he's truly into you isn't loud or showy. It's present, consistent, and real, and in a world full of noise, that kind of clarity is everything. If you recognize these signs in someone, don't dismiss them as coincidence. They might just be the foundation of something real, something lasting, something worth your time, heart, and trust.